I never expected this to happen, and I don't know how to feel about it. I'm 24, and I'm sleeping with a 42-year-old woman. At first, it wasn't about love or any deep emotional connection. I was just sick of being rejected by women my age. I've always been self-conscious. My looks are average at best, my confidence is shaky, and, well, let's just say I have a unique shape downstairs that's caused more embarrassment than excitement. The few girls I've been with couldn't hide their reactions, and the insecurity ate me alive. Then I met her, Sophia. She was different, confident, mature, knew exactly what she wanted. She didn't just accept my flaws, she made me feel like they weren't flaws at all. Every compliment, every touch, every night together built me up in a way I didn't know I needed. With her, I felt desirable. What started as a no-strings-attached arrangement quickly became something else. I started staying over. We had deep conversations, shared meals, laughed at stupid movies. And suddenly, I wasn't just some young guy she was seeing, I was the man in her bed, in her home, in her life. And then I found out she was married. She never wore a ring, never mentioned a husband, never acted like someone living a double life. But one night, I stayed later than usual. Around midnight, she got a call, turned pale, and told me I had to leave immediately. Suspicious, I left quietly but parked my car a few houses down. That's when I saw him, tall, well-dressed, carrying a briefcase. Her husband. I felt sick, betrayed. Not just for me, but for him. I was never the kind of guy who would knowingly sleep with another man's wife. I didn't want to be that person. I told myself I was done. But then, she called the next day. She admitted everything. They'd been married for years, but their relationship was dead. No intimacy, no love, just a transactional partnership. She said I was the only thing in her life that made her feel alive. And like an idiot, I believed her. We continued, but things started changing. She became more reckless, texting me while her husband was home, inviting me over during the day while he was at work. I started to feel like I was part of something dangerous, and I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Then came the twist I never saw coming. One evening, I was at a bar with some friends when a man sat down next to me. It was him, her husband. He smiled, shook my hand, and said, "We need to talk." I was ready for a fight, ready for him to punch me or threaten me. But what he said instead froze me in place. "She does this," he told me. "She finds younger guys, builds them up, makes them feel special. Then she drains them, financially, emotionally, sometimes even legally. I don't care that you're sleeping with my wife, I care that you're her next victim." I didn't believe him. I told him he was just trying to scare me, to make me walk away. He just laughed and slid something across the table, an envelope filled with photos. Photos of her, with other men. Some of them couldn't have been older than 19. My stomach turned. "She has a pattern," he continued. "She targets guys like you, the insecure ones, the ones who need validation. She builds you up, makes you feel special, then convinces you to help her out, small loans, investments, letting her use your name on things. Then, when she's done, she destroys you." I wanted to deny it, but suddenly things started making sense. The expensive tastes she claimed were just a quirk. The times she'd casually mentioned her past relationships, always with younger men. The way she tested the waters with me asking for small things, gifts, favors. I walked away that night, blocked her, and never looked back. But the damage was done. I don't know if I can ever trust anyone again. Every compliment, every kind touch, every moment of affection now feels like a manipulation waiting to happen. I thought she was my safe space.
I will be very grateful if you subscribe to our channel.
I never wanted to be a villain in someone else's story, but I suppose that's exactly what I am. For the past 6 months, I've been living a double life. By day, I'm the devoted wife, the woman who stood by her husband's side for 10 years, through struggles, setbacks, and silent disappointment. But by night, I am someone else entirely. A woman who has found herself tangled in a forbidden affair that has turned my world inside out. It started with late-night conversations. I met him at a charity event, an old friend I hadn't seen in years. We talked for hours, reminiscing about the past, laughing about things I hadn't thought about in ages. He saw me, not as a wife, not as a mother, not as someone's responsibility, but as a woman. And I craved that feeling more than I wanted to admit. The affair began subtly, as these things often do. Innocent texts became long phone calls. Brief meetings turned into stolen afternoons in hotel rooms, where passion burned away all reason. In his arms, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. Every touch, every whispered word, every moment was intoxicating. I was addicted. But love, lust, and deception never come without consequences. One evening, I arrived home to find my husband sitting at the kitchen table, a manila envelope in front of him. His face was unreadable, but his eyes, those dark, knowing eyes, told me everything. He knew. I hired a private investigator, he said, his voice eerily calm. I needed to know if my suspicions were real, and they are. My world collapsed in that instant. I opened my mouth, but there were no words that could undo what I had done. I'm not angry, he continued. Not anymore. Just disappointed. And then he slid the envelope toward me. My hands trembled as I opened it, expecting photos, receipts, proof of my betrayal. But inside was something worse. A medical report. Stage 3 lymphoma. My breath caught. What? I found out 3 weeks ago, he said, and I didn't tell you because I knew you weren't mine anymore. I stared at him, my mind reeling. How had I not seen the signs? The fatigue, the weight loss, the quiet moments of pain he had hidden so well. Guilt crashed over me like a tidal wave, suffocating me. I was going to wait until our anniversary to tell you, he admitted. I wanted one last memory before everything fell apart. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, because I knew what he was really saying. This wasn't just about the affair. This was about the years of distance, the slow erosion of our marriage, the unspoken words that had driven us apart. And now, when he needed me the most, I had already left him in every way that mattered. I want a divorce, he said finally, not because of the affair, but because I deserve better than someone who checked out long before this. Tears streamed down my face as I reached for his hand, but he pulled away. Please, I whisper, let me stay. Let me help you through this. He let out a bitter laugh. Now you want to stay when I'm sick? When you've already given your heart to someone else? I had no defense. No argument. Only regret. He stood, grabbed his coat, and walked out the door. That was 6 months ago. The divorce is finalized. He's still fighting, still undergoing treatment. And I have every thought I wanted. My lover, my freedom. And yet, every night, I lie awake in an empty bed, haunted by the man who once loved me more than I ever deserved.